Once upon a time in a world obsessed with silencing secrets, the history of sexuality unfurled not as a tale of hidden desires, but as one of astonishingly public control. Michel Foucault, in his groundbreaking work The History of Sexuality, invites us into this world, peeling back layers of repression to reveal a curious paradox. Rather than being hidden, sexuality had become a relentless obsession, regulated by powers we rarely notice. Imagine Victorian society, prim and proper, a world of buttoned-up collars and whispered scandals. It's easy to think they buried sexuality, stifling every mention, but Foucault suggests something else. They didn't just silence it, they transformed it into something to be controlled, categorized, and dissected. From asylums to courts, doctors' offices to confessional booths, sexuality was scrutinized, its every expression stamped with a label. Deviant, normal, moral, sinful. Society framed sex in terms of standards, not silences. And by doing so, it took control, managing who could speak, what they could say, and how they could act on their desires. Foucault names this paradox the repressive hypothesis, the idea that though it seemed like we were repressing sexuality, we were actually amplifying it through rigid classifications. Sexuality didn't disappear. It became something to study, analyze, and control. Doctors, priests, and policymakers all entered the scene, dissecting sexuality as if it were a science, turning the intimate into the public. Think about the power in that. Knowing not just how people behave, but knowing their inner desires, cataloguing them, and labeling their tendencies. This wasn't mere curiosity, it was control over bodies and minds, the kind of control that shapes a society from the inside out. Foucault takes us further back to ancient Greece and Rome, where sexuality looked surprisingly different. Unlike the rigid categories of normal and abnormal that we know, ancient cultures saw sexuality as part of ethical practice. Sexual acts were about care of the self, acts performed with honor and moderation rather than shame and secrecy. A man's virtue wasn't about repressing desire, but about managing it with integrity, knowing that discipline and self-care were paramount to honor. This moral vision of sexuality faded with time, but it lingered as a ghost in the Western psyche, blending with Christianity's ideas of sin, guilt, and self-denial, creating the blueprint of repression we know today. In this journey through centuries of attitudes, Foucault paints sexuality as more than personal desire. It's a complex power game. It's where authority gets its hands dirty, regulating what's seen and unseen, what's loved and loathed. By tracing how sexuality is woven into the fabric of society's power structures, Foucault awakens us to a realization. Perhaps we are all still players in a game where rules were set long ago. These forces remain close to us, woven into institutions and habits that feel as natural as breathing. Foucault doesn't hand us easy answers. He leaves us with a question. What are the hidden forces shaping how we experience intimacy today? And as we ponder, we might just start to see modern sexuality through his lens, where control and desire walk hand in hand as they have for centuries. Found this fascinating? Want to avoid the powers that censor and control your intimate life? Join us on lifesexplicit.com for unfiltered sex and relationship support, escape the algorithms and follow our Telegram channel, telegram.lifesexplicit.com.